Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another 10 pens currently inked for this week. I think let's go through these briefly one by one. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right we have an Onoto, and this is the University of Oxford Vermeil. We have an Onoto, and this is the sterling silver Rosetta stone. We have an Onoto Charles Dickens Christmas Cow 2024 edition. We have a TWICO Seishu Dragon in red. We have a TWICO Seishu Dragon in green. We have a Montblanc, and this is Around the World in 80 Days. We have a Montblanc Writer's Edition Jules Verne. We have a Cypress, and this is the Maki-e Goldfish. We have a Cypress, and this is the Raden Mosaic number 4. And then we have a Montblanc Writer's Edition Robert Louis Stevenson. So I think let's take a look at these pens in a little bit more detail. So this is the Onoto University of Oxford Vermeil. If you're not aware, Vermeil basically means it's gold plated over sterling silver, and I am loving this pen. I normally typically prefer sterling silver over gold. I don't mind gold trims, I don't mind gold clips or cap bands, but I typically would normally go for sterling silver if I have the option. There wasn't an option in this pen, unfortunately, so at least for me buying this pen. So obviously I had to go for the gold Vermeil, but it's a beautiful pen. I have a number 7 size Onoto nib there. It's an 18 karat gold fine nib. It's a cartridge converter pen. It is a heavy pen, about 92 grams in weight with the cap. You can't post the cap, and you really wouldn't want to at that weight, but just look at that pattern. That really is a beautiful pattern. That would have taken a lot of time to engrave. So very glad that I was able to add that to my collection in December last year. Prior to that, I think it was over a year ago, maybe a bit longer, that I had purchased the Onoto Rosetta stone in sterling silver. I previously had bought the Magna Carta. I wanted the Rosetta stone quite badly, but I knew that it was way out of my price range at the time, and it still is. But I also, about 6 months or so later, after buying the Magna Carta, one came up for sale, and it was at Roy at Ides Odds. I had a discussion with Roy and said, look, what are you prepared to do on this pen? And we struck a deal. It was a lot less than the MSRP, so I was glad of that. But the hieroglyphs in here are just insane. It really, really is an insane amount of work on this pen. So very glad I was able to add this to my collection. Again, though, because just like the University of Oxford Vermeil, this was second-hand, I didn't get to choose the nib width. Typically, I would have gone for an 18 karat gold medium nib. These both had fine nibs on them. I don't mind a fine nib, but I prefer a medium or broad. And this has an Onoto number 7 size 18 karat gold fine nib. But you can see in the size of my hand, it is a big pen. You can't post the cap. But again, it's about 92 to 95 grams in weight with that cap. So it doesn't bother me not being able to post that cap. It would be way too heavy. I think the weight of these pens were probably about 65, 67 grams for the body alone. So yeah, you wouldn't want to be able to post those caps, honestly. The next pen, which I really am loving, is the Onoto Charles Dickens Christmas Cow 2024 edition, and beautiful cranberry-like body here. I think red goes well with Christmas, green goes well with Christmas. Onoto did a silver overlay on the cap, but then they also painted or hand-painted, enameled the leaves in green and also berries in red as well. A really huge amount of detail there. Really loving this pen from Onoto. I have to say it's now one of my favourites. Not that none of my pens are not my favourites, but it's just, I guess when it's a newer pen, it becomes quite a favourite. I've got a Noto number 7 size 18 karat gold medium nib on this, which is what I'd prefer. Now, I can swap these nibs out easily. They unscrew in the Onotos. So I can easily swap a medium nib into these. I can easily go and buy a medium nib. And I'm toying actually with doing that. I wouldn't say in my earlier days of Visconti collecting, it wasn't necessarily too early, but probably at the midpoint of my collection of Viscontis of 70 plus, I did buy about 5 or 6 extra nib units so that I could interchange them. I haven't done that yet with Onoto. I have bought 1 or 2 nibs purely because the nibs that came on a couple second hand weren't that great. But I'm actually tempted at maybe buying a couple of nibs, maybe at, I don't know, maybe at the next pen show. You can post that cap as well. It posts deeply and securely. It actually feels just right having that posted on the back of the pen. But I will get, if I can, a internal brass tube, inner tube there, just to add another 7 or so grams in weight, because I typically don't post my caps. The next pen inked up is the TWICO Seishu Dragon in red, and this was from a couple of, I want to say it was like last year, but it wasn't. It was a couple of years ago, at least a couple of years ago now, in a March pen show, that I bought this, and the green one as well at the same time. I saw the price of the, they basically had 2 prototypes, and I got the prototypes, and they had the regular ones. I think the regular ones were like £1,500, which is a lot of money. And then the prototypes were, I think, around about half price. And I knew that if I went for one colour, like the red, I'd want to go for the green, or vice versa. So I actually figured, you know what, if I could pick up 2 prototypes, that's basically the cost of one full limited edition one pen. So it didn't bother me picking up the prototypes. I've got other prototypes in pens, but this is a beautiful, beautiful work of art. Brilliant. You've got abalone shell as the eyes there that sparkle in the dragon. Really, really. I want to say that out of all my, I've got quite a few dragon pens. Out of all my dragon pens, these are my favourite ones, I would say. And I have a 14 karat gold number 6 size Yovo medium nib there. Again, you can't post the caps. Like, it's definitely a theme to most pens nowadays that it's more difficult to post the caps. These are cartridge converters. These are ebonite pens, urushi lacquered. Beautiful, beautiful pens. So I have that one inked up this week as well. And then I have its sibling, brother or sister, the green one. And I have to say that I thought I liked the red better, but the green one is the one that speaks to me more nowadays. Strange, I don't know why, but it's got a sheer amount of detail on this pen. I want to ask how it is possible to make not only 2 pens identical, but probably, I think it was a limited edition one of maybe 15 or 30 pens of each colour. How the artisan get these to be almost identical is beyond me. Like, if I were to write something and I write it again and I write it again and write it again, it's going to be different. You're going to see nuances there. The artisans here, obviously, that are making these pens are really talented. And I'm just so glad I added these 2 to my collection. Again, a number 6 size Yovo 14 karat gold medium nib. It just is insane amount of work, and although the limited edition run would be worth more, you're going to be paying more for it as well. I honestly think that given 5 or 10 years, if I needed or wanted to sell these, I could probably sell these for essentially what the limited edition one version of the pen was. So they are just superb quality, and I've bought other Urushi, other Maki-e, other Raden pens for this price, and I've never had this amount of detail on them. So these were really, really good prices. The next pen inked up is the Montblanc, and this is the Writer's Edition. Well, it's not a Writer's Edition, actually. It's Around the World in 80 Days. I always consider it a Writer's Edition, but it's more... It's the Phileas Fogg story, Around the World in 80 Days. It's more of a special edition, I guess, but it's an ebony wood, not resin. It's a very heavy pen, about 65 to 70 grams in weight. Really, really heavy pen. I do love this pen a lot, and I love how it writes. I have been a little bit surprised lately about how the Montblanc nibs write. You'll see there it has the Phileas Fogg. It's got the hot air balloon there, and it's the number 6 size Montblanc 18 karat gold medium nib. Again, I can't post the cap on this one. So far, at the moment, only this one you can post the cap on, the Onoto there. But this is a beautiful pen, so very glad I bought that when I did. I got it for a fairly good price. It did go lower, I think, when it hit Black Friday. So I was a little bit dismayed by that, but I also know it's a really nice pen. I'm not looking to sell it. Yes, I could have saved a little bit more on the money for that pen, but doesn't bother me. The next pen inked up is the Montblanc Writer's Edition, and this is the Jules Verne. Again, beautiful pen from, I think it was 2003, this pen. It's got this beautiful gear-shaped pattern here with this sapphire blue enamel over the top. It really is beautiful, and you can't feel that gear-shaped pattern. All you can feel is this smooth enamel, and it's a lovely pen. It does have a resin section, and it's got a Montblanc number 6 size 18 karat gold medium nib on it. But it is one of a few Writer's Editions you can post a cap on, but this is hugely back weighted, so, and it also grips to the piston knob, which I'm a little bit worried about. So I don't post this cap when writing with it, but this is a beautiful, beautiful pen. And then in last year, I bought a couple more Mr. Cypress pens, or Cypress, and there was this one, and it's the Maki-e Goldfish. This reminds me of the Namiki Emperor Goldfish. Absolutely stunning amount of work on this. There is a slight coating of, I believe, Urushi lacquer over the top of this, but they haven't gone overboard. So you can really feel the texture to this pen. You can feel all the scales on that fish, that goldfish there. And also, you can probably see here on this end cap here, it is raised as well. So you can feel all of that. It is a thinner pen. It's got a number 6 size Cypress 18 karat gold medium nib on it. I can post the cap, but I'm worried about marring that finish, and it's just something I try to avoid doing if possible. Not that I'm anticipating selling this pen, but if I were to, it probably will knock a little bit off that pen if I were to sell it. The next pen inked up is again another Cypress. I bought it at the same time. It's the Raden Mosaic. It's number 4. There were 4 or 5 versions of this pen. I got number 4. I just loved the way this pattern flowed. You've got these gold-ish coloured bands. You've got the crushed duck's eggs there, and you've got crushed abalone shell. It's just a beautiful, beautiful work of art there. So very glad that I added this to my collection at the same time. And again, I got a number 6 size Cypress 18 karat gold medium nib on there. It is thinner and shorter than what I'm normally used to. I can post the cap as well. There is a lot of Urushi lacquer over this. So these are most Urushi, most Maki-e pens are ebonite base. So these two are ebonite base and these two are ebonite base, but not resin. Yeah, they really, really do look the part. And then the last pen inked up is this one. It's the Montblanc Writer's Edition Robert Louis Stevenson. You've got the skull and crossbones there. This is really to denote Treasure Island as a story from Robert Louis Stevenson. You've got the date there, 1850 to 1894. You've got Robert Louis Stevenson's signature there as well. And you've got lots of X's for treasure, but you've got the big one, X marks the spot. You've also got the telescope there as well. It's just a beautiful pen. I knew when I saw this I had to get it. It's got a Montblanc number 6 size 18 karat gold medium nib again. And again, I can't post a cap, but it doesn't bother me. It's a decent size, it's a decent weight. So for me, that is a nice pen to be able to write with. So there you have it. That's my 10 pens currently inked for this week. I think let's now go and do a writing sample. So the first pen inked up is the Onoto University of Oxford Vermeil. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And this is a fine nib. I think I would have preferred this with a medium nib, honestly, but I didn't have a choice in that matter, so I had to get it with a fine nib. This is the Onoto University of Oxford Vermeil, and it's a fine, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. And the ink in here is diamine ochre, which I still think, should I put a gold ink in there? The majority of my gold inks are actually shimmer ink, so I don't want to put a shimmer ink in a fine nib. So that's why I've still stuck with diamine ochre for the time being. The next pen inked up is the Onoto Rosetta Stone, which is a sterling silver pen. We'll do an ink swatch here. And again, this is a fine nib. And again, this was, I picked this one up second hand as well. So again, I didn't have the option for the nib. Again, I probably would have gone for a medium. But this is the Onoto Rosetta Stone. And it's a fine, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. And the ink in here is diamine Earl Grey, which I used to have other grey coloured inks inked up in this pen, but I found that they didn't. I felt that they didn't write as well as diamine Earl Grey did, in terms of flow and in terms of how the nib felt when you were writing with it. So I swapped that out for diamine Earl Grey, and I've never gone back. The next pen inked up is the Onoto Charles Dickens Christmas Carol 2024 edition. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And this is a lovely, bright, punchy red. I really do like this. And it's a medium nib, and that's typically what I am normally used to. So this is an Onoto, and it's a Charles Dickens. It's the Christmas Carol 2024 edition, and it's a medium, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. And the ink in here is diamine Ho Ho Ho. But that is a very punchy, Christmassy red ink. I do like that a lot. The next pen inked up is the TWICO Seishu Dragon in red. So we'll do an ink swatch here. This is another red that I like. It is a much darker red, but it is a red that I also like a lot. So this is the TWICO Seishu Dragon in red, and it's a medium, and it's a 14 cat gold nib, and the ink in here is KWZ, and it is Beef Eater Red. But that is a very nice coloured red ink. The next pen ink tub is another TWICO Seishu Dragon, but in green this time. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And again, this is an ink that I like quite a bit. It's not a green colour that I normally would gravitate towards, but I have had it inked up in quite a few pens in 2024. So this is the TWICO Seishu Dragon in green. I guess it's a green that has been growing on me a lot more. It's a medium, and it's a 14 cat gold Yovo nib. And the ink in here is KWZ, and it is grass green. But that is certainly an ink that's been growing on me more. It's not a dark green, it's certainly not a light green, which is typically what I would go towards more, but it's an interesting green. The next pen ink tub is the Montblanc, and it's Around the World in 80 Days. So we will do an ink swatch here. And I just love this colour ink. I could probably put this in any pen, to be honest, but I put it in a black pen. So it's the Montblanc Around the World in 80 Days. And it's a medium, and it's an 18 cat gold nib. And the ink in here is Sailor, Gentle, Apricot. But that is a beautiful punchy orange ink. Unfortunately, it's a now sold out ink. You can get Kinmakusai, which is almost identical. So if you like that ink, certainly look out for Sailor Gentle Kinmakusai. The next pen ink tub is the Montblanc Writer's Edition Jules Verne. So we'll do an ink swatch again. And this is quite a nice turquoisey coloured ink. So this is the Montblanc Writer's Edition Jules Verne with a medium 18 cat gold nib. And the ink in here is Waterman Inspired Blue, which is a beautiful ink. I typically have found it writing drier in most pens and nibs, but that pen I've not had an issue with. The next pen inked up is the Cypress Maki-e Goldfish. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now, I do find a lot of these Cypress nibs quite firm and also quite fine as well. So if you are going to buy a 14 or 18 karat gold nib from Cypress, just bear that in mind. The nibs are made by Canwright in India for Cypress. They are nice nibs, but they are sometimes a little bit on the finer side. So this is the Cypress, and it's the Maki-e Goldfish, and it's a medium, and it's an 18 cat gold nib, but that's definitely more of a fine nib, even though it's a medium. And then the ink in here is Robert Oster Gold Antiqua. And what I would say is that a lot of these Cypress or Canwright nibs tend to be quite crisp in their writing angle. So you do have to, like, they have a sweet spot. That can be rounded off by any nibmeister, but that's just something to bear in mind. The tipping is quite narrow and quite crisp. The next pen inked up is the Cypress Raden Mosaic number 4. And I found this with the nibs more recent pens, that it's not scratchy, but they can feel a little bit crisp when you write with them if you are rolling your nib slightly. So this is a Cypress, and this is the Raden Mosaic number 4, and it's a medium, and again it's an 18 karat gold nib. Would I, if I bought more Mr. Cypress pens, what nib would I go for? I think I probably would go for a broad nib, because I typically like mediums, medium to broad, and these typically write from a medium to a fine, I would say. The ink in here is Robert Oster, and it's Muddy Bucket. And I'm not saying I'm not going to go for any Mr. Cypress pens in future. I think I will, but I also want them to be around about 150 millimeters long. I'm not seeing that in a lot of their newer pens. I'm seeing them being about 130 to 140 millimeters. So I think the pen would have to probably hit 3 things for me to buy it. It would have to be about 150 millimeters long. It would have to probably have a broad 14 or 18 karat gold nib, if I could choose that. And I'd have to like the pattern on it as well. So I think I'd have to, before I go to buy another Cypress pen, I think I'd want them to be a little bit longer. And then the last pen inked up is the Montblanc Writer's Edition Robert Louis Stevenson. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And this is the kind of nib I like writing with. It's a beautiful medium to a broad nib. Pretty smooth, pretty lubricated ink. It just writes beautifully. So this is the Montblanc. I'm going to brew it to Robert Louis Stevenson so I can fit all of this on. But it is a writer's edition pen. It's a medium and it's an 18 karat gold nib. And the ink in here is KWZ graphite. But that is a beautiful, very dark grey, almost black ink. So I think with that, let's take a look at these pens inked up one more time. We have an Onoto University of Oxford Vermeil in a fine 18 karat gold nib inked up with Darmine Ochre. We have an Onoto Rosetta Stone in a fine 18 karat gold nib inked up with Darmine Earl Grey. We have an Onoto Charles Dickens Christmas Carol 2024 edition in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Darmine Ho Ho Ho. We have a TWICO Seishu Dragon in Red in a medium 14 karat gold nib inked up with KWZ Beef Eater Red. And you can see the difference really between these two red inks. I have a TWICO Seishu Dragon in Green in a medium 14 karat gold nib inked up with KWZ Grass Green. We have a Montblanc Around the World in 80 Days in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Sailor Gentle Apricot. We have a Montblanc Writer's Edition Jules Verne in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Waterman Inspired Blue. We have a Cypress Maki-e Goldfish in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Robert Oster Gold Antiqua. We have a Cypress Raden Mosaic number 4 in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Robert Oster Muddy Bucket. And then last but not least, we have the Montblanc Writer's Edition Robert Louis Stevenson in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with KWZ Graphite. So there you have it. That's my 10 pens currently inked for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.